Man and woman is a king in the kingdom of his own affairs, yet few realize that their words are the royal scepter that commands all conditions. The invisible substance of wealth waits, poised and eager for the decree of the rightful ruler, the awakened mind. Every day the law of supply stands ready to serve, but it moves only when spoken to with faith and conviction. The bank account, like all other reflections of man's consciousness, mirrors the tone of his decrees. When he speaks lack, it obeys and empties itself. When he speaks abundance, it hastens to overflow. There is no such thing as chance in the divine economy. The outer world is but the obedient servant of the inner word. The man who understands this truth no longer trembles at the sight of dwindling figures or unpaid bills, for he knows that every balance is but a picture of yesterday's belief, and belief can be renewed this very hour. The invisible bank of the universe is inexhaustible. It awaits only the confident withdrawal slip written in the ink of faith. Every day my bank account obeys my decree. If I speak of prosperity with assurance, the channels of increase swing wide. Money flows through expected and unexpected avenues. Opportunities rise unbidden from the unseen. The law is mathematical and precise. Thought and word are the currency of the unseen realm, and they buy for man the visible symbols he calls wealth. The timid soul says, "I cannot afford it," and the universe echoes back, "So be it." The bold soul declares, "I am rich in substance and supply," and the universe answers, "According to thy word it is done." Therefore one must be vigilant with speech. Every idle word carries power. Every thought sows a harvest. The wise man plants only that which he desires to reap. To command prosperity, one must feel it, speak it, and expect it. Doubt is the robber that enters the vault of faith. Fear is the beggar that blocks the door of supply. But gratitude is the golden key that opens every gate. When man blesses what he has, however small, he multiplies it. When he praises the unseen riches on their way, they hurry to appear. The truth is eternal. Abundance is not earned by toil, but by alignment. It is not wrestled from the world, but released from within. The kingdom of plenty is not afar off. It is here, now, responding to every word you speak. Speak only that which you wish to see printed in the ledger of your affairs. So let this be the decree for today and every day. My supply is endless, my prosperity assured. Every day my bank account obeys my decree. It listens to my word and increases under grace and perfect ease. For the word of faith, spoken in calm authority, is law. And the law never fails. Words are commands that shape financial reality. For every spoken word is a decree sent forth into the unseen to build or to destroy. The tongue is the tool of creation, the scepter of power that man holds without often realizing its might. Each statement, whether whispered in fear or spoken in faith, plants a seed in the fertile soil of the subconscious mind, and that seed must bear fruit in the visible world. The conditions of a person's finances are not born of circumstance alone, but are molded, day by day, by the language they speak and the tone with which they speak it. Words carry vibration, and vibration shapes form. The invisible energy of thought takes on flesh through the word, and the word commands matter to align itself with belief. When one declares lack, the universe, ever obedient, arranges itself to confirm that decree. It moves through people, situations, and opportunities to mirror the belief that was spoken. If a man continually affirms, "Money never stays with me," his words are law unto his affairs. He becomes the magnet for fleeting fortune. If another declares with confidence, "Money comes to me easily and stays with me," he sets in motion the opposite law, and invisible forces begin to cooperate to fulfill that command. The bank account, the career, the business, all are mirrors reflecting the quality of one's decrees. Words of wealth open gates that effort alone cannot. The one who speaks from faith moves with authority in the realm of the unseen. He does not strive to create prosperity through force or anxiety. He speaks it forth and watches as the external world reshapes itself to match his tone. For every time he says, "I am provided for," he aligns with the law of abundance that governs all life. Words are creative patterns in sound. They vibrate through the ether, calling to themselves kindred vibrations. The word prosperity, spoken in joy, carries the rhythm of growth, while the word debt, spoken in fear, multiplies more of its kind. Thus, man becomes the composer of his own financial symphony through the melodies of his speech. It is not enough to speak words mechanically. They must be filled with the feeling of truth. Words without faith are empty shells, but words infused with conviction carry the electric current that moves substance into form. When a person says, "I am rich," but feels poor within, the inner vibration contradicts the outer declaration. The true decree arises from the heart, where belief and speech are one. The inner word precedes the spoken word. It is born of faith, and faith is the assurance that unseen supply already exists. Therefore, the wise individual does not speak to convince the universe, but to align with it. He speaks not to beg for abundance, but to affirm its presence. Every statement you make about your finances is a command to the creative law. Say, "I can't afford that," and the law obediently seals every door of opportunity. Say instead, "That is easily within my reach," and unseen channels open. The universe responds to conviction, not complaint. Complaint is the misuse of the creative word. It shapes conditions that mirror dissatisfaction. When one laments money is hard to come by, the law of reflection ensures that it remains so. But when one proclaims, "Money comes to me under grace and in perfect ways," the law of supply awakens to obey. Every word has a magnetic center. Words charged with fear repel good. Words charged with confidence attract it. A single statement of belief can dissolve years of limitation if spoken in the spirit of truth. The power does not lie in the syllables, but in the energy behind them. Words are vessels through which life flows. When spoken from a heart of assurance, they become channels for divine substance to pour forth. Therefore, one must guard speech as a king guards his treasure. For careless words are thieves that drain the vault of prosperity. The subconscious mind, which never sleeps nor argues, takes every word as instruction. If it hears, "I am always broke," it works tirelessly to maintain that condition, arranging outer circumstances to agree with the inner picture. But if it hears, "I am constantly supplied with abundance," it begins immediately to reorganize conditions to fulfill that decree. The subconscious is the builder. The word is the blueprint. Speak a word often enough and with belief, and it becomes a living structure in the material world. Financial reality is not fixed. It is fluid, shaped and reshaped by language. Every business, every income stream, every opportunity is a manifestation of the word once spoken. Those who understand this law cease to talk idly about money. They refuse to use words of limitation, for they know the law takes every phrase at face value. They do not say, "I'm afraid the bills are piling up," for fear and faith cannot dwell together. They replace such words with creative decrees. "All my bills are paid in divine order. I am supplied before I need it." These words become self-fulfilling prophecies because they carry the signature of certainty. The spoken word is more powerful than thought because it gives vibration to what was silent. Thought is the seed, speech is the watering of it. When you speak your decree aloud, you send forth an energy that reverberates through the invisible substance around you. This is why affirmations, prayers, and declarations have always held power. They are not mere phrases, but energetic commands. The wise use them as instruments, not as superstitions. They understand that words shape the mold and the divine substance of life rushes to fill it. Every financial success story begins with a spoken word of belief. The individual who once declared, "I am surrounded by opportunities," found them. The one who affirmed, "I am open to unlimited income," discovered doors where none seemed to exist. Words call forth new realities because they carry authority. They are not weak sounds drifting in the air. They are creative decrees that summon conditions into being. When spoken consistently and with joy, they alter the landscape of one's life. Therefore, every day, every hour, every conversation about money becomes a moment of creation. Each phrase you utter adds to the structure of your financial world. Words of doubt build walls. Words of faith open doors. To speak abundance is to build abundance. To declare wealth is to set in motion the law that governs wealth. The universe does not resist, it obeys. The question is not whether the law works, but whether man uses it consciously or carelessly. When you understand that words are commands that shape financial reality, you begin to choose them with reverence. You speak not from reaction, but from authority. You claim your wealth as a rightful heir of divine substance, and your world rearranges itself to reflect the decree you have spoken. Faith is the currency of abundance, the invisible wealth that precedes every visible form of prosperity. Before money can flow through a person's hands, it must first flow through their belief. Faith is the spiritual coin that opens all vaults and unlocks all channels. It is not a vague hope or blind trust, but a knowing, an inner conviction that supply is already present, though unseen. The world teaches man to earn his good through effort and struggle, but divine law teaches that belief is the true labor, and faith is the only investment that never fails. When a man believes fully in abundance, his belief sets unseen forces in motion. Circumstances rearrange themselves, opportunities appear, and the very air seems to vibrate with provision. What he once sought now seeks him, for faith has magnetized his world. Faith is the substance from which wealth is formed. It is the invisible pattern that the material world copies. Every great fortune, every success story, began as faith held steady in the face of appearances. When the outer picture seems empty, faith stands as the bridge between the unseen and the seen. It whispers, "I already have it," and by that inner recognition it draws the thing itself into manifestation. The man of faith never asks, "How will it come?" He knows that the method is the concern of the law, not of his intellect. His part is to believe, to declare, and to maintain the feeling of fulfillment, even before evidence appears. This is the sacred exchange: faith given, abundance received. Faith is a higher form of seeing. It looks not at the ledger or the empty purse, but at the boundless supply behind all forms. It knows that divine substance cannot run out. The river of prosperity flows eternally, and only unbelief builds the dam that blocks it. When man releases doubt, the current resumes its course. Faith clears the channel, allowing supply to move with ease and grace. Where there is faith, there is no anxiety. Anxiety is the offspring of disbelief. It arises when man forgets that supply is infinite, and that his word has authority over form. Faith, on the other hand, is calm. It acts as though the desired good were already secured. For in truth, it is. The person who walks by faith speaks differently, acts differently, thinks differently. They no longer talk of limitation or loss, for they understand that every word of lack weakens their inner currency. Faith must be guarded as one guards a treasure chest, for every doubt is a withdrawal from the account of abundance. The more faith one spends, the richer one becomes. Faith multiplies through use, while fear diminishes through neglect. Each time one chooses faith over worry, the inner capital grows stronger. It is the only wealth that cannot be stolen, taxed, or diminished by outer events. To have faith in abundance is to know that one's prosperity does not depend on employers, markets, or economies. These are but channels, movable and replaceable. The source is infinite and unchanging. When one's faith rests upon the divine source rather than material intermediaries, one becomes truly free. The individual who ties their well-being to a job fears its loss, but the one who ties it to divine supply knows that if one channel closes, another opens immediately. Faith keeps the channels alive and flowing because it is rooted in the unchanging law of good. Faith is the architect that draws the blueprint of abundance. It sketches the outline of wealth long before the structure appears. Every idea that turns into profit is first a spark of faith, belief in the unseen possibility. Inventors, artists, and builders all operate under this same principle. They believe before others see, and the universe rewards their certainty. The same is true in financial affairs. When one holds faith in steady supply, one's outer world begins to shape itself accordingly. Faith builds form from the invisible. Many people confuse wishing with faith. Wishing hopes for what might come. Faith knows what already is. Wishing trembles, faith commands. Wishing looks outward for proof. Faith creates the proof. Faith is fearless because it sees beyond the veil of appearance. It knows that the law of supply is eternal and cannot be broken. When a person truly believes, there is no strain in their speech, no pleading in their prayer. They speak the word as law, knowing the creative substance must obey. Their faith is not a desperate grasp, but a calm certainty, and from that certainty flows all provision. Faith transforms the atmosphere of one's life. It turns worry into peace, doubt into expectancy, and struggle into flow. The person who walks in faith radiates confidence that draws resources to them. Their very presence speaks of sufficiency. They may have little in hand, yet others sense their abundance because it is a living vibration. Money, opportunities, and ideas are drawn to such a person, as iron to a magnet. This is the hidden power of faith. It creates a field of attraction around the believer. It communicates silently with the universe, declaring, "I am ready, I am supplied, I am prosperous." And the universe answers in kind. Faith does not depend on outer evidence, yet it inevitably produces it. The moment faith is established within, supply begins to crystallize without. The outer world must eventually conform to the pattern held within consciousness. This is not imagination or accident, it is law. When a person allows doubt to dominate, the pattern of lack takes form. When faith dominates, the pattern of prosperity emerges. Thus, the world is a mirror reflecting the strength or weakness of one's belief. To change outer conditions, one must first fortify inner faith. Faith is also obedience to intuition, for intuition is the voice of divine guidance. When one believes that supply is certain, one becomes alert to the signs and instructions that lead to it. Ideas come, doors open, and right actions reveal themselves without effort. Faith sharpens perception and tunes the ear to opportunity. It turns the smallest idea into a channel of great increase. Those who have faith act upon inspiration promptly, without fear or delay. They trust that every step is supported, and because of that trust, each step reveals more abundance. To cultivate faith in abundance, one must practice seeing through appearances. When bills arrive, faith says, "These are evidence that supply is active, for I would not receive the demand without the means to meet it." When business slows, faith says, "This is but a pause before greater flow." When others fear loss, faith declares, "There is no loss in divine mind." These are not empty affirmations, but mental corrections that restore alignment with truth. The universe cannot contradict faith. It bends and shapes itself to fulfill belief. The more faith is exercised, the more powerful it becomes. At first, one may struggle to believe in unseen supply, but with each demonstration, faith grows. Small manifestations build trust for greater ones. Eventually, faith becomes a habit, a constant awareness of abundance that no outer condition can shake. It becomes the invisible fortune that underwrites every venture and every need. To live in faith is to live in perpetual wealth, for faith itself is substance. It is the invisible gold from which all visible gold is minted. Faith is not confined to religion or philosophy. It is the working principle of creation. It governs the farmer who plants seeds expecting harvest, the merchant who stocks shelves expecting customers, the artist who paints believing in an audience. Every act of success in life rests upon faith somewhere. In matters of prosperity, the law is exact. As one believes, so it is done. The universe has no choice but to reflect the conviction held within. Faith spends itself freely because it knows that its source is inexhaustible. It gives, invests, and circulates without fear of depletion, and in doing so it multiplies endlessly. Gratitude multiplies every form of supply, for it is the divine acknowledgement that opens the floodgates of abundance. When man gives thanks for what he has, he calls forth more of its kind. Gratitude is the golden vibration that harmonizes him with the law of increase. It is not a mere sentiment or polite gesture, but a living force, a spiritual magnet that draws prosperity from every direction. The grateful mind knows that supply is ever flowing, that every blessing is evidence of greater blessings on the way. It refuses to dwell on what seems lacking and instead rejoices in what is present, knowing that rejoicing expands the present good. The ungrateful heart, on the other hand, repels increase by focusing on emptiness. It closes the door to divine supply because complaint and gratitude cannot dwell together. Where complaint reigns, increase withdraws. Where gratitude shines, multiplication begins. When one gives thanks for even the smallest coin, that coin becomes the seed of a greater harvest. Gratitude transforms the ordinary into the miraculous. It sanctifies the moment and lifts it above limitation. The individual who blesses his income, his home, his work, his body, and his opportunities sets them into motion for expansion. For blessing is a form of spiritual recognition. It says, "I see the divine in this, and because I see it, it grows." The universe responds to gratitude as soil responds to rain. It softens, nourishes, and gives forth life abundantly. Each thought of appreciation is a drop of living water upon the seed of prosperity. Gratitude is the secret rhythm of wealth. Those who live in constant thanksgiving find that life continually gives them more to be thankful for. They become centers of attraction because their vibration aligns with the frequency of abundance. When a person radiates appreciation, they send out an invisible signal that draws all good things to them. The law of increase is simple. What you praise grows. What you criticize diminishes. Therefore, the wise one blesses everything: the bills that remind him of supply, the debts that push him toward expansion, the challenges that call forth his inner strength. By blessing rather than resisting, he turns every circumstance into a servant of his prosperity. Gratitude is faith in action. It is the living proof that one believes in divine supply. To give thanks before the evidence appears is to declare, "I know it is already mine." This form of gratitude carries creative power, for it affirms the unseen reality behind appearances. It is the same law that caused the loaves and fishes to multiply. The recognition that divine substance is unlimited and responsive to appreciation. When a person thanks the universe for what is not yet visible, the invisible substance hastens to take form. The ungrateful mind, however, delays manifestation because it doubts the process. It waits for proof before it praises, not realizing that praise is the proof. Gratitude opens the channel, complaint clogs it. True gratitude does not depend upon outer conditions. It is not a reaction to gain, but a cause of gain. It is the mental posture that assumes good is always present, even when the senses say otherwise. When man learns to give thanks in the midst of difficulty, he rises above the difficulty. Gratitude changes the level of consciousness. It lifts thought to a higher plane where supply flows freely. Every great teacher of truth has known this secret, that the heart full of gratitude lives above limitation. The grateful person cannot be poor, for they are rich in awareness, and awareness shapes reality. Gratitude also refines the soul's relationship with money. It transforms the energy of possession from fear to joy. When one handles money with gratitude, money responds like a living friend. It circulates freely and returns multiplied. To spend with resentment or fear is to send forth scarcity. To spend with gratitude is to send forth increase. Every coin that leaves one's hand blessed with thanksgiving returns bearing gift. The habit of blessing every transaction creates a constant flow of prosperity. Gratitude keeps the current of supply clear and swift, while ingratitude stagnates it. The person who practices gratitude walks in continual abundance because they have trained their eyes to see it everywhere. They find wealth in the sunrise, in the laughter of others, in the opportunities of each day. They give thanks for the ideas that come, for the energy to act, for the people who assist their journey. Such gratitude multiplies unseen wealth long before it appears as visible riches. Life mirrors back whatever we recognize, and gratitude recognizes only good. It is impossible to see poverty while feeling genuine gratitude, for the two states cannot exist together. Gratitude dissolves the illusion of lack by revealing the presence of plenty in all things. Gratitude is also a creative force in relationships and business. When one thanks clients, co-workers, and partners sincerely, harmony increases, and channels of prosperity open wider. The grateful business attracts loyal customers because its atmosphere vibrates with appreciation. The grateful employer inspires faithful service. The grateful employee rises quickly in success. Wherever gratitude is expressed, cooperation replaces resistance, and progress replaces stagnation. Prosperity flows through happy channels, and gratitude keeps those channels clear. To live in gratitude is to live in the present moment, for only now can thanks be given. Regret lives in the past. Fear lives in the future. Gratitude lives in the eternal now. And the present is where creation occurs. The grateful mind, fixed in the now, draws strength and inspiration from the source of all life. It does not postpone joy until conditions improve. It creates improvement through joy. Gratitude is the key that unlocks the power of the present, turning each instant into a portal of increase. Gratitude and imagination work together as twin forces of manifestation. When gratitude affirms what already is, imagination envisions what can be, and together they weave the fabric of abundance. The grateful imagination does not fantasize idly, but creates with conviction. It sees the desired good as already accomplished and gives thanks for it in advance. This marriage of vision and appreciation sets the law of creation into motion. What is imagined in joy and affirmed with thanks must eventually appear. Gratitude is also humility in its highest form. It recognizes that man is not the source of his own supply, but the channel through which divine supply flows. The grateful person does not boast of their wealth, for they know it comes through grace. They hold possessions lightly, not in fear of loss, but in awareness of the constant flow of giving and receiving. Gratitude maintains that flow by keeping the heart open. The closed heart of pride cannot receive more, but the open heart of thankfulness is endlessly replenished. Gratitude is contagious. It transforms environments. A grateful household becomes peaceful. A grateful workplace becomes prosperous. A grateful mind becomes magnetic to blessings. Even in silence, the energy of gratitude radiates outward, blessing all it touches. It softens hardened hearts, attracts kindness, and uplifts the weary. To live in gratitude is to live surrounded by beauty, for one sees beauty in all things. The world itself responds to gratitude with generosity. Nature yields her fruits more richly. People respond more warmly, and circumstances bend toward harmony. To practice gratitude is to practice mastery. It is the art of turning every condition into gold. When the mind learns to say thank you instead of why me, transmutation begins. The situation itself may not change immediately, but perception does, and perception is the foundation of reality. Through gratitude, man discovers that abundance is not something to be gained, but something to be recognized. It was always present, waiting for acknowledgement. Each grateful thought uncovers more of it, as sunlight reveals the colors of a hidden garden. Gratitude multiplies supply because it aligns with the divine rhythm of giving and receiving. The more one gives thanks, the more freely life gives back. It is the universal heartbeat of expansion. To live in gratitude is to move in harmony with that rhythm, to dance with the flow of creation. Every breath, every word, every gesture of appreciation becomes a note in the symphony of abundance that plays eternally through the universe. Fear and doubt block prosperity's flow because they are the shadows that veil the light of supply. They are the great interrupters of divine circulation, the silent saboteurs that cut man off from his own inheritance. The moment fear enters, faith withdraws, and where faith is absent, abundance cannot remain. Fear contracts what should expand. It tightens the current of life until even simple opportunities slip away. Doubt whispers that the supply is uncertain, that good must be earned through strain or might vanish without warning. And this false belief turns the open door of prosperity into a closed gate. The law of supply is perfect and unchanging, yet it can only operate through channels free of obstruction. Fear and doubt are those obstructions. They form mental dams that hold back the ever-flowing river of increase, and until they are dissolved, no lasting prosperity can reach the surface of one's affairs. Fear is born of the illusion of separation. It arises when man forgets that he lives in a universe of law and order, that divine substance cannot fail him. The fearful mind sees lack where there is abundance, danger where there is safety, limitation where there is endless possibility. It takes appearances as final reality, believing the shadows on the wall to be truth. But the spiritual law knows no shadows. It moves by faith, not by sight. Fear blinds man to the invisible helpers at work on his behalf. It makes him doubt the wisdom of the process, question the timing of supply, and suspect that he must carry all burdens alone. In this blindness, he begins to speak words of limitation, and those words take root in the creative substance, producing conditions that mirror his worry. The fearful word is as powerful as the faithful one, for the law is impartial. It obeys both equally. Thus, fear manifests what it dreads, while faith manifests what it loves. Doubt, the twin of fear, is subtler but equally destructive. It hides beneath reason, disguising itself as caution or practicality. Doubt whispers, "Perhaps it will not work this time," or "Maybe I am not worthy." Each time one entertains such a thought, the creative current slows. The word loses its vitality because belief gives it power, and doubt drains that power away. The universe does not withhold abundance. Man's disbelief withholds his ability to receive it. Every time he questions the law, he delays its action. The habit of doubt keeps the door half open, never allowing the full flood of prosperity to pour through. The soul that doubts its own worthiness or its divine backing lives in perpetual half-supply. Fear and doubt also distort perception, causing man to misread circumstances that are actually working for his good. When things seem delayed, fear cries out that all is lost, when in truth the divine order is rearranging details for perfect timing. When supply seems slow, doubt concludes that the source has failed, when in fact the source is infinite and only the belief has faltered. Fear clouds intuition, making the inner voice faint and uncertain. The one ruled by fear cannot hear guidance clearly, and so he acts out of anxiety rather than inspiration, producing confusion instead of increase. Prosperity requires calmness, because calmness is receptivity. The fearful mind, always restless and suspicious, cannot receive. Fear and doubt are forms of inverted faith. They are faith in evil rather than good, faith in failure rather than success, faith in lack rather than supply. Whatever man believes in, he energizes, and so the fearful person unknowingly gives power to the very outcome he wishes to avoid. To overcome fear, one must redirect belief. Instead of believing in possible loss, one must believe in certain gain. Instead of fearing delay, one must trust divine timing. The energy of belief cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. When fear is transmuted into faith, the same power that once blocked prosperity becomes the force that multiplies it. The feeling of fear constricts not only thought but also the body and the environment. It is visible in tightness, hesitation, and tension. Opportunities sense this vibration and turn away, for the fearful aura repels. The fearless, by contrast, radiate confidence and attract everything aligned with their vision. Life rushes to meet courage because courage signals readiness. The universe entrusts its treasures to those who are unafraid to receive them. Fear, being self-centered, always asks, "What if I lose?" Faith, being God-centered, declares, "I cannot lose, for the source is infinite." As long as man centers his thought on himself and his limitations, he lives in fear. The moment he centers his thought on divine substance, fear dissolves, and the flow resumes. Doubt speaks through postponement and indecision. It delays action, and delay is the thief of opportunity. The doubter says, "I will begin when I am sure," but certainty only comes through beginning. Faith acts, doubt hesitates. Every moment of hesitation is a moment lost in creation. Prosperity favors movement, for life itself is motion. The individual who waits to see before he believes will always wait, for belief is the seed that produces sight. Those who overcome doubt move boldly in trust, and life meets them with corresponding boldness. Fear often disguises itself as prudence, whispering that one must be realistic, that one must prepare for loss. But prudence, rooted in fear, is merely limitation in disguise. True prudence is guided by intuition, not anxiety. The wise person plans with faith, not dread. They know that every right action is supported by unseen intelligence. They walk through uncertainty with calm assurance, and because of that calmness, events align perfectly. The fearful person clutches, hoards, and guards against imagined scarcity, thereby creating the very scarcity he fears. The faithful person gives, trusts, and circulates, thereby inviting more to circulate back. The difference between the two is only in belief. Fear also creates confusion about value. It makes man think that his worth depends on possessions or external approval. In this illusion, he becomes desperate to secure and defend what he has, rather than realizing that his worth is intrinsic and his supply unlimited. Doubt makes him question his right to prosperity, as if abundance were granted to a few by chance. Yet the law of supply plays no favorites. It responds to consciousness alone. The one who feels unworthy of wealth unconsciously rejects it, no matter how many opportunities appear. Self-doubt is the unseen hand that pushes prosperity away. Confidence born of divine awareness is the magnet that draws it near. Fear and doubt also corrupt the creative use of the word. A person may declare abundance with their lips but cancel it with their inner trembling. They may say, "I am prosperous," while inwardly thinking, "But what if it doesn't last?" The subconscious hears both and obeys the stronger feeling. Thus, to overcome fear, one must not only speak faith but feel it. Feeling is the language of the subconscious, and it must be taught that all is well. Repetition of words with conviction eventually erases the grooves of fear and carves new pathways of confidence. As faith grows stronger, the old patterns of worry fall away naturally, and prosperity begins to flow, unobstructed once again. Fear thrives in silence and secrecy. When man keeps his worries unexamined, they grow in the dark. But when he brings them into the light of understanding, they lose their hold. Fear cannot survive the recognition of truth. Doubt cannot stand before spiritual law. To dissolve fear, one must remind the mind daily that supply is infinite, that good is ever present, that divine order governs every event. Such reminders act as rays of light breaking through fog. The fog lifts, slowly at first, then suddenly, and the clear path appears. Every act of courage weakens fear's foundation. Every word of confidence drains doubt's strength. As man continues to act in spite of fear, he proves to himself that the law supports him, and experience replaces theory. Each demonstration of supply reinforces faith until fear has no ground left. The one who conquers fear becomes a master of circulation, for nothing now blocks the flow of life through him. Prosperity moves freely through his affairs because his inner channels are open. Fear and doubt are only the misuse of imagination. They are creative powers turned against themselves. When imagination is purified by faith, it becomes the servant of abundance instead of its enemy. The same mind that once pictured loss can picture gain. The same voice that once trembled can declare triumph. The transformation begins the moment man chooses to believe in good more than he fears evil, to trust supply more than he doubts himself. Then the river of prosperity, long dammed by anxiety, begins to move again. washing away limitation and revealing the unbroken current of divine abundance that was waiting all along. Prosperity unfolds through divine alignment, not struggle, for abundance is not something man wrestles from the world, but something he awakens within himself. The universe is a perfect order, flowing in harmony with eternal law. Every form of struggle, every anxious effort to secure wealth, is an attempt to move against that order. True prosperity does not come through force or fear. It comes through alignment with the rhythm of divine supply. When man is inwardly aligned with truth, outer conditions naturally mirror that harmony. He no longer chases after opportunity or hoards against loss, for he has discovered that prosperity is not the result of effort, but of attunement. When he thinks, speaks, and acts in agreement with divine law, the current of abundance carries him as easily as a river carries the leaf that floats upon it. Struggle arises from the belief that man must do everything alone, that life is a battle of will and competition. In that belief, he separates himself from the source of supply, seeing himself as a beggar before an unyielding world. But when he realizes that divine intelligence is his partner, the burden lifts. He ceases striving and begins allowing. The work of man is not to force outcomes. Alignment is quiet power. Struggle is noisy weakness. The aligned individual works efficiently, joyfully, and without haste, knowing that every right action is guided by infinite wisdom. Divine alignment means thinking in harmony with the law of abundance, which recognizes no lack, no competition, no obstruction. It means allowing the flow of life to move freely through every thought and decision. When man aligns with that flow, his affairs unfold with precision and ease. Opportunities appear as if summoned, ideas come in perfect sequence, and support arises from unexpected places. It is not magic, but law, an unfailing principle that harmonizes cause and effect. When one's inner vibration matches the vibration of abundance, the two become indistinguishable, and prosperity manifests as a natural consequence. Struggle, on the other hand, is the symptom of resistance. It is the friction between belief and truth. Whenever man believes in limitation, he creates tension between his desire and his expectation. That tension manifests as effort, anxiety, and exhaustion. The one who is aligned has no such conflict. He desires with calm certainty because he knows that every true desire is already complete in divine mind. He does not strain to make things happen, but moves in confidence that they are happening through him. His work becomes a channel through which the divine expresses itself, and his prosperity flows as freely as breath. Divine alignment is not passive acceptance, but conscious cooperation. It is active faith, an intelligent surrender to the higher plan that is always at work. When man insists on controlling outcomes through fear or ambition, he narrows the path of supply. When he trusts the divine process, the path widens. The universe loves order, and order is born of trust. The aligned mind trusts that every event, whether gain or loss, serves a purpose in the larger pattern of increase. Even apparent setbacks are stepping stones, each moving him toward greater expansion. To align with divine law, one must first align thought. The mind must be cleared of the old habits of scarcity, competition, and worry. These are distortions that pull man out of harmony. The aligned thinker refuses to entertain such thoughts. Instead, he trains his mind upon principles of abundance. That supply is infinite, that opportunity is ever present, that success harms no one and blesses all. These truths lift his consciousness into the current of divine flow, where ideas move swiftly and resources follow naturally. Thought alignment precedes material alignment, for every outward condition is but a reflection of the inner pattern. Words, too, must align with truth. Every word spoken in fear or doubt misaligns the current and introduces resistance. When one says, "I am struggling to get by," the universe obeys that decree. When he says, "I am in perfect alignment with abundance," he opens the gates for supply to flow. The aligned individual speaks prosperity into existence because his words are backed by faith and peace, not by strain. His declarations carry power because they are not attempts to convince, but expressions of knowing. Action must also align. True alignment produces inspired action, not frantic activity. The difference is in motive. Struggle acts from desperation. Alignment acts from guidance. When one is aligned, every step feels natural, timely, and purposeful. There is no resistance in his movement, no fear of failure. He acts because he feels the inner prompting to act, and that prompting is always accurate. Struggle, by contrast, pushes blindly against conditions, exhausting itself without result. Alignment waits for the inner signal and then moves with the force of divine timing, accomplishing more through one calm act than struggle can achieve in a year of toil. Divine alignment brings rhythm to prosperity. There are seasons of growth, seasons of rest, and each serves the greater order. The one who struggles resists the seasons, fearing stillness as stagnation and mistaking effort for progress. The aligned soul understands that rest is also creation, that the invisible forces of preparation work as powerfully as visible effort. He does not panic when outer movement slows, for he knows that alignment is not measured by activity, but by awareness. In silence, he stays connected to the source, and when the time for action returns, he moves with renewed energy and clear direction. Prosperity that is forced through struggle is unstable, for it rests upon tension and fear. Prosperity that unfolds through alignment is secure, for it is rooted in law. The man who builds wealth through anxiety becomes its servant, always guarding it against imagined loss. The man who receives wealth through alignment remains master of it, knowing that the same power that brought it can bring more. He lives in freedom because his supply is inward, not outward. The aligned individual may appear serene amidst change, because he trusts that divine order never falters. Divine alignment also means harmony with purpose. Each soul is designed for specific expression, and prosperity flows most easily when one fulfills that design. Struggle often comes from chasing goals that do not belong to one's path. Alignment restores purpose by tuning the heart to the right work, the right calling, the right environment. When one lives according to inner purpose, joy replaces fatigue, creativity replaces confusion, and prosperity follows as a shadow follows the form. The universe rewards authenticity with support, for it seeks expression through individuality. The aligned life is not one of idle ease but of effortless accomplishment. It is the state where outer success is a natural outpicturing of inner peace. When man's thoughts, words, and actions move in unison with divine order, he becomes a conductor of the universal current. His efforts bear fruit without strain, and his prosperity blesses others because it flows through him, not merely to him. Alignment makes him an instrument of supply, and therefore supply never fails him. To live in alignment, one must release resistance at every level. Resistance to change, to timing, to divine wisdom. Resistance is born of mistrust, and mistrust blocks flow. Acceptance, on the other hand, opens the heart. When one accepts life as perfectly ordered, even the seeming delays and detours reveal hidden blessings. Alignment turns disappointment into redirection, loss into preparation, and waiting into wisdom. The aligned soul looks upon every event with calm gratitude, knowing that all things work together for increase. The vibration of struggle is heavy, it pushes against life. The vibration of alignment is light, it moves with life. One exhausts, the other renews. The man of struggle believes in effort, the man of alignment believes in law. One seeks to make things happen, the other allows them to happen through him. The aligned person becomes a clear channel through which prosperity flows without interruption. His consciousness and the divine current are one stream, moving toward greater and greater expression of good. Prosperity, then, is not achieved, it is revealed. It is uncovered when all resistance, fear, and strain dissolve in the light of alignment. The divine plan contains no poverty, no loss, no failure. These are misalignments born of misunderstanding. When thought returns to harmony with truth, the outer life adjusts to match. The aligned soul walks in peace because he has ceased to struggle with the law, and has become one with it. The river of abundance carries him effortlessly forward, and everything he requires comes to him in perfect order, perfect time, and perfect ease.